Another Chronowalkers Champion Primer. In this series, we take a look at the new champions coming to Genesis Battle of Champions in the Origins set. We'll do a quick champion breakdown of how we think the champion will play out in games and how to lean into their strengths and avoid their weaknesses, and then look at some key cards we feel synergize best with the champion. Though we're not going to be looking at all the cards they could play, and if you're looking for some just good cards, please be sure to check our primer that we made earlier, where we looked at all the staples that you should be putting in your decks for the new standard meta.
And today we're going to talk about the tricky Force Mage Cato, or Cato. I don't know, you tell me. Alright, so he has 21 health, 135 aura, and 1 energy. Alright, so it's is that the highest amount of aura for someone with an energy reduction so far?
That might be. I have to double check. Yeah, that is a lot of aura for having 1 energy.
Forward awareness, Thymos Axon. Alright, so again, like the Kirin video we did the other day, this is another new color pair. Yeah, that we get to explore new combinations. And of course, by new combinations, I mean we get to play some of the most busted cards together in the same deck.
Yeah. Fair and reasonable Genesis.
But anyway, yeah, as card games go, it's alright. So Cato, cast, Swift, you deal 2 earth damage to a target in your awareness. Force Warp, Swift, 5 aura and 4 energy. No exert. Keep that in mind. No exert on this ability. Place target champion or summon in your awareness on a spot adjacent to you.
That is that is a declaration from HCG. That is, do not come at Cato's front because it will never work. These are some great stats. What direction do you think Cato really shines best in, Eric?
I think the answer is yes. What he shines best in.
So wait, mage?
Yes.
Well, okay, but what about fighting?
Oh yes. Oh yeah, definitely.
Summoner?
Oh, absolutely.
Hybrid?
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's gonna be a hybrid. Yeah. Yeah.
Huh. So you would say his archetype is yes.
Yes, his archetype is yes. That's right. His archetype is whatever is good. You can put it in there. He can play his aura. He can play some energy cards. He can do a bit of both. Yeah, and just do it all really. He can protect his summons. He can protect himself. He can do some tricky plays. Like yeah, it's gonna really take some time to dive in and see what the best deck is, right? Because there's going to be so many opportunities. Some of the other champions really try to force you. Force is a strong word, but not with Cato. But try to really like push you in a certain direction. But Cato, like his direction is just everywhere.
Yeah. Though that being said, for our primer, there is one specific direction we decided to lean into, which was the typical summoner turn 1 is move to the left or right and summon a summon to the left or right of you. You don't want to put it in front of you because summons, like, you get repeatable damage source, but in return, you have to wait a turn before you get access to that repeatable damage, as opposed to a spell or technique where you get the damage immediately.
Yep, and you don't want to get hit by a bolt shot and lose, 4 life in your summon.
Yeah, absolutely. But Cato, on the other hand, Cato can summon a summon in front of him, and it will be as protected as if you summoned out of range to your left or right. Because if you need to, you can just put it to the left or right. Or behind. So you're going to have more board presence right off the start, like summoning a giant scorpion in front of you. I mean, okay, we'll get into specific cards later, but you can kind of see that you can threaten more of the board with summons with Cato on turn 1 than other champions can. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, he can't be hit from the front. He can protect the summons from the front. It's basically like a malicious persuasion you have all the time.
Though I think one of the secret techniques that Cato learned over his many years as a professor is actually turning his butt towards his opponent and what might I say, catapulting a summon straight into their face.
Yeah. There's going to be some big brain plays with Cato doing this. We're going to call it the Cato pulse, the catapult. But yeah, I mean, it's simple enough. It just involves Cato running forward, turning around, and then basically giving little boosts to any summon behind him, giving them 2 spaces, basically a 2-space jump to anything behind him. So now instead of that motion of persuasion, now you have a jump that you can play for summons, and this can really help. If someone's behind you, flip them forward. If someone's to your left and you need them to go right, you move as far forward or as far in the direction as you want, turn in the right direction, have your summon move up, force warp them over your back, and then they can attack. And this allows for some very long range movement on these summons.
Yeah, because that is not a move the summon to the adjacent spot. It is a place. You can use Cato to place your summon on top of someone else's summon and just get even more into the mix there.
Yeah. So is Cato going to synergize with I forgot that rabbit?
Oh, geez, a ginormous rabbit. Yeah, potentially.
No, the other one, the Forchi rabbit.
Oh. Potentially. Oh, I hadn't even thought of that one. Anyway, get off the screen, rabbit. Let's look at some real cards.
Yeah, some actual cards. Yeah. So, I mean, as we were saying before, Cato can fit anything in his deck. So when you can put anything, what do? You put the best stuff, of course. So we're going to start off with Chronowalker because the Chronowalkers are the best. And this is just a very strong card in these colors. And with your Force Warp, it allows you to not only, say you Chronowalker behind you, swap spaces, avoid the attack. All of a sudden, then now you Force Warp your Chronowalker, and that avoids the attack. So it has even more synergy than it did before.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is like a Cato specific play. Like if someone's coming to your front with an attack and you have a space behind you, summon Chronowalker behind you, let the decoy happen, and then before the original attack, which was the reason why you brought in this Chronowalker, goes off, you Force Warp your Chronowalker out of the spot where it's going to get hit, and now nothing gets hit, and all it cost you was a little bit more aura and a couple more cards, and you have a fully functional, fully operational Chronowalker with 6 health. So Chronowalker gets a shout out, not just because it's a good card, but also because there's some nice plays that Cato could do with Chronowalker.
Yeah, and with those reflexes, we can bring up our next card, Warp Strike, new card in the Origin set. As you can see, Cato is in the art, so we don't really need to talk about the card at all, right? Because it obviously goes well together. But we will talk about the card because it is a good one. Like, it kind of fits in with his ability to be kind of an everything champion with the split cost and pretty solid effect, right? You being able to warp to another place, hit something for more damage. It kind of is like this. You can almost play like a kind of a semi-fighter with that kind of style, but it also is just a defensive tool.
Yeah. And I will say that for Cato specifically, I'm looking for my defensive tools to have that left and right awareness because people aren't coming to my front. So it's like the Warp Strike protecting your front. I mean, it's helpful for sure, but it's the left and right that I'm really that made this card stand out in my mind.
Yeah, exactly. And then on top of that, we have another card also with Cato in the art, Illusory Misplacement, that just kind of fills out all of the awareness spots, right? Now you can move left, right, or to back. So you can avoid every attack now. You're safe from everything.
This is working a little different than our last one. That one was, Warp Strike was using the awareness to give like a point to warp around, whereas Losing Misplacement is letting you move in a direction of its awareness. A little bit trickier, but I mean, still a great card. And I will say that this is a great movement technique, right? It's only 5 chi, but at 12 aura, it's not something that fighters can use as well. Well, I mean, Cato's just 12 aura. I mean, that's ain't no thing. That's not even 10%. Whereas for a fighter, that's going to be 15% or more of their aura pool.
Can we call this a defensive card? It has all your adjacent spots. Geomantic explosions. They say the best defense is good offense. So this thing can do 6 damage to everything adjacent to Cato. And I hear a really cool video about it that can really introduce you to this card.
Yeah, so this is my spoiler card. Quick shout out to the Chronowalkers for that awesome spoiler video. But yeah, in that I mentioned how I thought that Geometric Explosions felt like a bit more of a fighter card, despite the large aura pool, because it's kind of like a jack of all trades. It's going to be able to be used to get you out of situations and deal with anything, and then just also be 6 damage to the face to murder someone. Cato looks at that 32 aura cost and is like, that's actually pretty reasonable. So yeah, like if you want to be the mage fighter style with Cato that we kind of talked about, that jack of all trades, he can do some other things as well. Geometric Explosion is probably a solid card for that style. It is in the art.
So we have our mage and fighter style, so let's look at our summoner style. We're just going to throw up a bunch of cards here. These are just like really strong game-ending threats on their own, and they synergize is a strong word, but Cato does work well with having that one strong threat because you can protect it really well. They don't really want to waste an AoE on something on just one summon, but they also can't actually, kill your summons if they're in your awareness. Like you can say like, oh, well, I'm going to hit that thing, and then he's going to say, oh, I'll force warp it. And then even if you try to keep going and trying to kill that thing, you just keep force warping it. Remember, force warp doesn't exert. You can keep doing it.
Yes. Yeah, the opponent will have to let you force warp, see where you put it, and then hope they have something else that they can hit the new spot with, which is not the best deal.
Yeah. So yeah, just having one of these summons out, you can just have like one summon at a time, protect it, cause some damage with it. If they do end up dealing with it, which might take them a lot more cards than they would probably like, then you're going to have more of these, plus your previously mentioned cards of like Warp Strike and other things, where you can still be hitting your opponent pretty safely because you'll be playing defensively and doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, with Cato, I want to have maybe maximum 2 of these high quality summons out on the board, one in the protective spot and the other one maybe pressuring. And then, as the opponent deals with one, I just keep on dropping another one, and they're losing out on cards every time they try to interact. And then we're just taking it all to the winning the game store.
Yeah, and you can use that card advantage pretty well because you'll be able to play a lot of cards. You have that high aura and the energy reduction, so you can really gain card advantage and then use it really effectively.
Absolutely.
Having like your Baroque, your Violent, Vimant, Firing Krog, Giant Scorpion, and just a ton of other powerful summons will really just help you. You can really use that summon very effectively.
Yeah. Also, we'll give a shout out to Firing Krog. We have access to Giant Scorpion, of course, but this is doing a chunk more damage. It is at 8 chi, and also the Water Brint. So, yeah, if you want to lean into some water damage with some tsunamis or whatever, then Firing Krog, there's a reason to be looking at this guy, and he's cheap on aura, so 18.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, that's our Cato primer. I know it's a little different than we normally go because there's just too many cards to put into his deck, and we didn't want to just say put this card because it's good, which we did end up doing, but that's what it's gonna be. And so we're looking forward to seeing what you guys can build with Cato.
Yeah,
because it's gonna take a long time to get him right.
Yeah, and if you've got a different style of Cato deck that you want to lean into, please let us know in the comments because we'd love to hear about it and talk about it ourselves as well if you got some awesome interactions.
And please remember to like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.